Welcome to another AI pattern recognition deep dive.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're immersing ourselves in a concept that really pushes the boundaries of AI, brain power AI, or BPAI.
Really?
And this isn't just, faster AI. It's about a system aiming for human-level thinking power.
Right.
And using that power to spot patterns across, well, everything in human life all at once in real time.
It really is. It's this conceptual blend of data science, crazy hardware engineering, and cognitive modeling. It's mapping out a path towards a universal pattern recognition engine.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then and figure out our mission here. We need to pull out the most important insights about this universal pattern recognition idea. We have to really get into how an AI could analyze your health, your finances, politics, relationships, everything, and crucially, what that means for us, the good and the bad.
Exactly. The core idea is that BPAI acts as this integrated AI companion. It's designed to give you a kind of preemptive wisdom.
Preemptive wisdom, I like that.
Helping you make better decisions by showing you the hidden patterns, predicting consequences before you actually do something. Think of it maybe like a personal flight simulator, but for your life choices.
Okay. And the scale we're talking about here, the computational power needed, the sources keep mentioning 1015 to 1018 FLOPS.
That's the range, yeah. Floating point operations per second. It's the current best guess for the raw processing power of a human brain.
So it's a synthetic intelligence designed to work right alongside us.
That's the vision, seamlessly integrated. But before we even get to the cool applications, we have to face this huge hardware challenge. Getting to that 1015 or 1018 FLOPS, that's one thing. But the real engineering nightmare, or miracle, depending on how you look at it, is the efficiency. The human brain does all that complex work on about, 20 watts?
20 watts is just astounding. I mean, my gaming PC probably pulls 300 watts just running a complex game, never mind exaflop calculation.
And that's the core problem. Right now, hitting exaflop needs these giant data centers, megawatts of power, tons of space.
Right.
So the kind of BPAI you could wear, or, maybe even implant someday. It has to be incredibly energy efficient.
Which is why there's so much focus on neuromorphic chips, mimicking the brain's structure.
Exactly. That's the hope, to cut energy use by maybe 1,000 times or even more compared to current tech. Until we crack that nut, BPAI stays mostly centralized, not really practical for constant personal use.
Okay, let's assume we do crack it. We get the efficient hardware. Then what? This massive power needs to be used for recognizing patterns everywhere, simultaneously.
Correct. It can't be narrow AI. It needs this incredibly broad awareness. The sources usually break it down into 5 main domains.
Okay.
First, biological. So track your health metrics, disease signs, how your body processes things, aging patterns, constantly.
Then behavioral.
Yeah, understanding your decision habits, your cognitive biases, we all have them, emotional triggers, how your habits form and break. Really getting inside your personal operating system.
And then it moves outward.
Exactly. Third is economic. Personal finance, spending habits, how you react to market trends, even systemic risks. Fourth, social relationship dynamics, how groups cooperate or conflict. Big cultural shifts.
And the fifth?
Political. Modeling power dynamics, predicting how policies might actually impact people, analyzing civic engagement. It's this totally integrated view.
So a change in your, say, sleep pattern might instantly flag a potential link to your financial risk-taking that week.
Precisely. It connects the dots across domains in a way we just can't.
Okay, so if we boil all that capability down, the sources talk about 3 core functions, this triple threat. What are they?
The first one's foundational,
Yeah.
real-time adaptation. It's constantly learning what's normal for you, your personal baseline.
Right.
This lets it spot tiny deviations instantly. Could be danger, could be an opportunity. Like if your sleep quality tanks 3 nights running, that's a flag. Maybe you're getting sick, maybe stressed.
Okay, adaptation. What's next?
Prediction. This is where it gets really powerful. It models the likely outcomes of things you might do before you do them.
So if I'm thinking about changing jobs or taking out a big loan.
It runs a personalized simulation based on your history, your context. What are the most probable short-term and long-term results? It lays out the odds.
And the third function, you mentioned ethics earlier.
Personalized guidance. This is crucial. The insights have to be tailored. It can't be generic advice. It needs to factor in your culture, your personality, your goals. And critically, it presents this guidance as probabilities, information. The final choice has to remain with the human. Autonomy is key.
I keep coming back to that autonomy point, though. If this AI can run millions of simulations and says option A has a 95% success rate based on your profile, how much real choice is left? Is it just choosing to follow the optimal path?
That's the fundamental tension, isn't it? It's
Yes.
something we absolutely have to keep wrestling with as we look at how it actually calculates these things.
Right, and to understand why that guidance feels so compelling, maybe even coercive, we need to look under the hood. The sources lay out a pretty clear four-stage process for how BPAI figures out these patterns. Okay, stage one has to be gathering the data.
Stage one, data collection. Absolutely. It needs a constant flood of data from everywhere. Wearable sensors, sure, but also environmental monitors, air quality, noise levels, your financial transactions, your calendar, maybe even things you type or say. Plus public data like traffic or market news. It's just this massive, messy data ingest.
Okay, then stage two must be where the heavy computation happens, pattern detection.
Exactly. Sifting through trillions of data points daily to find the meaningful connections, it uses a whole toolkit.
Like what?
Well, basic statistical analysis is still important, finding correlations, spotting outliers. But the real muscle comes from large-scale neural networks and deep learning. They can find those really complex, subtle, nonlinear relationships that simple stats would miss. Then you've got time series analysis, looking for cycles, daily rhythms, seasonal changes, economic ebbs and flows. And graph analysis is key for mapping out networks, your social connections, professional ties, how influence flows.
But you mentioned prediction earlier. The key leap seems to be causal inference, right? Not just that two things happen together, but why?
That's the game changer. Correlation is everywhere, often meaningless. Ice cream sales go up when crime rates go up. Does ice cream cause crime?
No, summer causes both.
Exactly. Causal inference aims to figure out that underlying driver. Is my headache from the weather, lack of sleep, or that weird additive in my lunch? Knowing the cause lets you intervene effectively. That's the difference between just spotting a pattern and actually understanding it.
Okay, so it detects the pattern, figures out the likely cause. Stage three is...
Stage three, pattern interpretation. This is about context. Okay, we found a pattern. Is it important? Is it trivial? What does it actually mean for this specific person's goals and life situation?
So a risky investment pattern means something different for a 20-year-old versus someone nearing retirement.
Precisely. Interpretation makes the prediction relevant. It generates the human impact prediction.
And the final stage keeps it getting better.
Stage four, adaptive learning. The feedback loop. It constantly checks. Was my prediction accurate? Did the suggested action actually work? If it predicted something would cut stress by 50% and it only helped 10%, the model learns. It adjusts. It learns about the world, but more importantly, it learns about you specifically as you change over time.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Take a common problem. Impulse buying. How does this four-stage process play out?
Right. The sources use this example. So stage one, data collection. Your wearable picks up a sudden spike in cortisol. Maybe your heart rate variability drops. Physiological stress signals.
Okay.
Stage two, pattern detection. The AI links that biological pattern to a specific context. Maybe you just got a stressful work email or had an argument. And it sees that combination, negative emotion plus stress marker, consistently happens right before you open a specific shopping app.
It's identified the trigger and the habit.
That's powerful. It really is. Stage three, interpretation and prediction. It assesses this isn't just random browsing, it's stress-induced spending. It predicts, based on past instances, an 82% chance you'll regret this purchase later.
And stage four leads to the intervention. But respecting autonomy, you said.
Right. So before you hit buy, the system steps in. It doesn't block you. It presents the data. Hey, based on your stress levels and past behavior, there's a high chance of regret here. Then it offers structured alternatives.
Like what?
Things like A, maybe wait 24 hours, classic cool-down tactic. B, do a quick breathing exercise it knows helps you. C, suggest calling a friend. Or D, just proceed anyway, but now you're doing it with full awareness. It interrupts the automatic cycle.
I think everyone can relate to that internal battle. Knowing the trigger makes the intervention feel less like nagging and more like insight. Okay, let's zoom out. How does this apply to groups? Like optimizing a community meeting?
Great example of structural pattern recognition. Stage 12. BPAI analyzes data from thousands of meetings, maybe meeting minutes, outcome reports, participant feedback. It detects a strong pattern. Groups of 8 to 12 people resolve complex, messy problems about 73% faster and with higher satisfaction than groups of 20 or more.
So the bottleneck isn't necessarily the people or the topic, but the size and structure of the group itself.
Often, yes, for certain types of problems. Stage 3, interpretation. The system understands that for complex neighborhood issues, large town halls are inefficient for decision-making. Stage 4, adaptive learning. across many scenarios confirms this.
So the suggestion isn't about telling people how to behave, it's structural.
Exactly. It recommends form a focused working group of 10 diverse representatives. It uses the data about optimal group size to improve the process, enhancing the collective ability to get things done. It's using knowledge of social physics almost.
Yeah. Okay, now let's dive into the specific application areas. This is where you really see the potential depth. Let's start with A, health and preventive care. This feels like the most natural fit for continuous monitoring.
It's potentially revolutionary, shifting healthcare from fixing problems after they happen to preventing them entirely. BPAI keeps this constant, personalized baseline vitals, inflammation markers, nutrient levels, sleep quality, all of it.
And it looks for those tiny changes, right? The subclinical stuff a doctor might miss until it's serious.
Precisely. Take the example of a 45-year-old male, stage 12, data collection and pattern detection. Over 5 years, it noticed several things happening together. His blood pressure was creeping up maybe 3 points a year, not alarming on its own. His activity levels were dropping, step count down 15% year over year, sedentary creep. And it cross-referenced this with his genetic data family history of heart disease and even real-time stress markers from his wearable during work hours.
Multiple threads converging.
Oh,
And the interpretation, stage 3.
The chilling part. A calculated 67% probability of developing clinical hypertension within the next 3 years. That's not a vague, you should exercise more warning. It's specific.
And that specificity allows for a targeted intervention, stage 4.
Exactly. The system doesn't just say walk more. It suggests a daily 20-minute moderate walk. Why 20 minutes?
Yep.
Because stage 4 learning across similar profiles showed that duration has a high correlation with a significant drop, like 14 points in systolic pressure for people like him.
Wow.
And it adds another layer. It notices his adherence to past solo health goals was low, but improves dramatically with social support. So it suggests joining a local walking group, citing data showing adherence goes up over 300% with peer involvement.
And the projected outcome.
If he follows the plan, a 78% chance of avoiding hypertension medication altogether. It's personalized, evidence-based preventive medicine at scale.
That's incredible. How does this translate to something more subjective, like mental health?
It relies on different, often subtler data streams. Stage 1. Phone usage patterns. How long do you stare at the screen? Sleep data. How long to fall asleep? Even voice analysis during calls.
Voice analysis.
Yeah, looking for changes in tone, pitch variation, speed indicators of mood state, like emotional flatness, and of course, tracking social interaction frequency.
So what pattern might trigger, say, a depression risk alert?
In the example used, stage 2 detection finds a cluster. Sleep latency jumps 32 minutes. Contact with friends' family drops 40%. Voice analysis shows that flat effect in 2/3 of calls. This pattern combination triggers a stage 3 interpretation. 78% probability of a major depressive episode within 2 weeks.
Okay, that's a serious flag. How does the system intervene without causing more anxiety? Stage 4 again.
It has to be gentle, tiered. Maybe starts with a notification like, notice the sustained change in your baseline, just checking in. If the user confirms feeling down, it escalates, presents the risk score, but immediately offers concrete resources.
Not just Google a therapist.
No, pre-vetted local options, hotline links, and importantly, practical support, suggesting breaking down overwhelming tasks, tracking small wins, trying to reactivate those positive feedback loops. It integrates psychological principles.
Let's shift gears to B, education and personalized learning. This sounds like moving beyond just grades to how someone learns best.
Exactly. Stage 12, BPAI analyzes interaction patterns. Does the student respond better to visual diagrams, audio explanations, hands-on activities? When during the day are they sharpest for math versus, say, writing?
The example of Maria, the algebra student, really breaks this down.
Right. Stage 3 interpretation. Analysis showed she strongly visual diagrams boosted her scores 82%. She's a morning person for math, 34% better performance before noon. And crucially, her algebra problem wasn't really algebra. It was a shaky understanding of fractions.
Ah, so the personalized curriculum, stage 4, addresses the root cause.
Precisely. It builds a plan using interactive fraction games, maybe framed around cooking or building things, to make it concrete. It insists on visual algebra tools like geometric shapes representing equations, and it nudges her to tackle math between 9 and 10 a.m. It optimizes how and when she learns.
And systemically, can it help with bigger educational issues like inequality?
Potentially, yes. Analyzing district-wide data, stage 12, BPAI could spot patterns invisible to humans. Maybe certain teaching methods consistently fail kids from specific backgrounds, or biases in discipline, or gifted program referrals, stage 3. It could also track early warning signs for dropout risk, not just grades, but attendance, engagement, even external stressors, allowing targeted intervention, stage 4, to hopefully close achievement gaps.
Okay, on to C, economics and personal finance, a place where, let's be honest, human irrationality often reigns.
Lifestyle inflation is a classic example. James, the 32-year-old engineer earning $95K, stage 12. The pattern is clear. Every time he got a $10,000 raise, his spending jumped by $8,000. He wasn't saving the difference.
His savings rate stayed flat at 8%. Stage 3 interpretation. What's the long-term impact?
The projection is stark. Keep that up, and he'd only have about $180,000 saved by age 65. Not nearly enough. Stage 4. The intervention isn't just nagging, it uses comparative modeling.
Shows him a different path.
Exactly. If you captured just half of your future raises for savings, you could hit $820,000 by 65. It makes the future cost of present choices vividly clear. That's a powerful motivator.
And beyond individual budgets, can it see bigger economic patterns?
That's the idea. Aggregating anonymized data, stage 12, it could spot early signs of market bubbles, maybe correlations between risky loan types and asset prices, or analyze how wealth distribution shifts after a policy change, stage 3. It could potentially give regulators or even investors a heads up on systemic stress, stage 4 implications.
All right, let's move to D, social and relationship dynamics. This feels incredibly complex and sensitive, requires trust and consent, surely.
Absolutely. Consent from everyone involved is paramount. It's analyzing subtle communication cues, interaction patterns. The Sarah and Tom example is fascinating. Stage 12. Over 3 years, it detected a 52% drop in conversations they both rated as constructive.
Wow.
More specifically, it identified a conflict cycle that was 87% predictable. Sarah uses a "you always" criticism. Tom gets defensive, then he withdraws. Rinse and repeat.
Stage 3, the risk assessment.
A worrying 48% chance of a major relationship crisis within 2 years if that pattern continues.
So stage 4 recommendations, how does it intervene?
It leverages behavioral science, personalized to their pattern, suggests Sarah try "I feel" statements instead of "you always." So citing data showing that specific switch works well for couples with their dynamic, maybe a 41% de-escalation rate.
Okay.
But it also flags a structural issue, the household chore split. It measures it. Sarah 73%, Tom 27%. It identifies this imbalance as a likely underlying source of resentment.
So it's behavioral and structural advice.
Yes. It prompts an explicit negotiation about chores, and it recommends scheduling quality time 90 minutes twice a week, protected to consciously rebuild positive interactions. The predicted outcome, if they stick to it, a 68% chance of significant improvement based on models.
That's detailed. Now, politics and policy impact, we need to be really careful here. Just reporting the analysis, not taking sides.
Absolutely critical. Neutrality is essential. BPAI is framed as a tool for predicting policy consequences, not advocating for policies. Take the Universal Basic Income UBI example. Stage 12. It uses historical data, Alaska, Finland trials, but scales it up, simulating how millions of individuals might react based on their unique profiles.
Modeling 250 million people, that's ambitious. Stage 3, what were the key predictions?
A mix, as you'd expect. Positive side, a potential 12% jump in entrepreneurship as the safety net reduces risk, an 8% rise in consumer spending, maybe a 15% drop in certain mental health issues due to less financial stress.
Okay, but the downsides and surprises.
Inflation, yes, modeled at 1.2%, but concentrated in housing essentials in dense areas. And significant unexpected effects. Maybe 18% of people moving to cheaper areas, disrupting local economies, and a potential 24% growth in the gig economy as people supplement UBI with flexible work.
So a really complex picture. What's the stage 4 recommendation for policymakers then?
Given the uncertainty, especially around migration and the gig economy shift, the system advises caution. Run pilot programs in diverse regions for 3 years first. Gather real-world data before a massive national rollout. It quantifies the uncertainty.
Okay, now the informed voting example. Marcus, 19, first-time voter. Priorities, affordable housing, climate action. How does BPAI help without telling him who to vote for? Again, neutrality.
Right. Stage 12. It analyzes candidates' platforms against Marcus's stated priorities. Candidate A supports zoning reform predicted to boost affordable housing. Candidate C has a strong climate plan, but then it adds accountability. It checks voting records. Candidate B says they support housing, but their legislative record only aligns 45% of the time. They often vote against those interests. Stage 3. BPAI presents an alignment score. Candidate A matches 87% of Marcus's priorities.
But it doesn't stop there.
No, it immediately flags the trade-offs. Candidate A's plan might mean higher local taxes or faster development. It lays out the costs and benefits based on evidence and history, not just promises. The goal is to empower Marcus to explore deeply and make his own informed choice, not to make it for him.
Okay. Finally, F, human nature and consciousness. This is about understanding ourselves, including our biases, like confirmation bias.
A big one. Stage 12. BPAI tracks your information diet. If you consistently click 78% on articles reinforcing what you already believe, it flags that pattern. Stage 3. It identifies this as confirmation bias.
And the intervention, how do you gently correct that? Stage 4.
It's metacognitive. It explains why this limits understanding. Then it offers carefully to gently introduce well-reasoned perspectives from people who disagree, pulling from reliable, diverse sources.
And the predicted benefit.
Modeling suggests this kind of exposure, done right, could reduce the anxiety people feel encountering opposing views, maybe by 32%, and actually increase nuanced thinking capacity by around 24%, using the AI's awareness to make us more mentally flexible. So you see the power. The depth of insight is unprecedented, which means BPAI is potentially the greatest tool for human optimization ever. But that same power makes it incredibly dangerous if it's not handled with extreme care.
Right, it's that double-edged sword. Before we get into the risks, let's just quickly recap the potential upsides, the positive effects.
For the individual, it's huge. Better decisions, less regret, dramatically improved health through prevention, more financial security, faster personal growth, because you understand yourself so much better.
And societally.
Identifying systemic injustice could reduce inequality. Early warnings might prevent crises, financial crashes, pandemics, environmental disasters. A truly informed public could enhance democracy. Understanding group dynamics might even reduce conflict. The promise is immense. But, and it's a huge but, we have to be just as focused, maybe more focused on the negative effects and how to mitigate them.
Okay, let's break them down. Number 1, privacy concerns. Total life data. That's the ultimate surveillance honeypot.
Catastrophic risk. Mitigation can't just be policy, it has to be technical, baked in. Things like federated learning, where your raw data stays on your device, only anonymized pattern insights are shared. Homomorphic encryption, computing on data while it's encrypted. And absolute user control, you decide what data streams are on, who gets access, non-negotiable.
Okay. 2, autonomy threats. If the AI is always right or close to it, do we just stop thinking for ourselves? Learned helplessness.
Big psychological risk. Mitigations need to foster independence. Maybe a training wheels mode that fades guidance over time. Always providing the explanation of reasoning, you need to understand why it's suggesting something, not just follow blindly. And encouraging regular unplugged time to exercise our own cognitive muscles.
But isn't there a tension there? If resisting the AI's statistically optimal advice means you're likely making a worse choice, isn't that just choosing poorly? Where's the value in that freedom?
That's the philosophical tightrope. The danger isn't making occasional mistakes. Mistakes are how we learn. The danger is if we stop trying new things, stop taking calculated risks that the AI might deem suboptimal, but could lead to unexpected breakthroughs. The system must somehow allow for, maybe even reward, safe exploration and novelty, not just optimization. Otherwise, we stagnate.
Tricky. Okay, 3, inequality amplification. If it's trained on biased data, or only the rich can afford it.
It could deepen divides massively. Mitigation needs both social and technical fixes. Socially, universal access programs, subsidies, ensuring it's not just a tool for the elite, technically. Relentless bias auditing and correction, actively finding and fixing biases in the data and algorithms, and regulations demanding equitable outcomes prove it helps everyone, not just the already privileged.
And then the psychological side again? 4, anxiety amplification. Constant notifications about potential future problems. That sounds stressful.
It could easily create analysis paralysis or chronic worry. Mitigation absolutely needs input from mental health experts, not just engineers. User control over notification levels is key. Mute buttons, quiet hours, and crucially, always framing things as probabilities, not certainties. A 67% risk isn't destiny, it's a challenge you can potentially manage. The interface design has to be calming, not alarming.
Makes sense. 5, social fragmentation. Filter bubbles on steroids. Or worse, a kind of social credit score based on how optimized your patterns are.
Terrifying prospect. Mitigation requires banning single optimization scores, designing the system specifically for deliberate exposure to diverse perspectives, actively pushing you outside your bubble sometimes, and legally protecting the right to deviate, to not follow the AI suggestion, preventing a monoculture of optimal behavior, celebrating difference.
And the ultimate fear. 6, manipulation and control. Governments or corporations using this to subtly nudge behavior in their favor, micro-targeting us based on our deepest patterns.
This requires robust governance. The strongest safeguard is independent oversight bodies, truly independent groups with the power to audit the algorithms and data for manipulative intent. Strict anti-manipulation regulations making it illegal to use BPAI for predatory commercial or political targeting, and some form of democratic control over the core protocols themselves. No single entity can own this.
Okay, let's touch on those really big, maybe further out unintended consequences, the hypotheticals.
Right. First, pattern rebellion. Humans might just start acting randomly or irrationally just to prove the AI wrong, to assert free will, even if it's self-destructive, escaping predictability at any cost.
And the prediction paradox.
Yeah, if the AI predicts a market crash and everyone believes it and sells, they cause the crash differently or sooner than predicted. The prediction defeats itself by changing behavior.
Third, the meaning crisis. If life becomes too predictable, too optimized, if struggle and surprise are engineered out, does life lose its meaning? Existential emptiness.
A profound risk. Does overcoming challenges give life purpose? What if there are no real challenges left, just optimized paths?
And finally, evolutionary stagnation. If BPAI handles our memory, navigation, social calculations, do our own abilities just wither away from disuse?
We become utterly dependent. A system failure wouldn't just be inconvenient, it could leave us cognitively crippled, like losing a muscle we never exercise. These are the big, slow burn risks we need to consider. So thinking about when this might actually happen, it all comes back to that hardware gap, that 20-watt brain efficiency. We really can't overstate how big a hurdle that is. We're talking fundamental physics, materials, science breakthroughs needed for heat, power.
Right. So given that massive challenge, what does the development roadmap look like according to the sources, say, between now and 2060?
They usually outline 4 phases.
Yeah.
Phase 1, now to maybe 2028, is foundations. We see better neuromorphic chips starting to appear, more specialized AI in our phones, maybe some limited BPAI-like features in niche areas like health tech. It's like 1% of the final vision.
Okay, phase 2 is more incremental improvements. Then the big leap is phase 3.
Phase 3, maybe 2035, 2045, is the key miniaturization phase. This is where, if the breakthroughs happen, we get powerful, efficient hardware, small enough for personal devices, maybe even implants or truly ambient systems woven into our environment. Widespread deployment starts, at least in developed areas. That gets us maybe 50–70% of the way there.
And phase 4 is full maturity, universal access, ironing out the kinks, taking us potentially to 2060. What about just getting the basic computational equivalent of the brain running, forgetting portability for a moment?
The timelines vary. Optimistic scenario. If we get lucky with multiple rapid breakthroughs in neuromorphic tech, maybe basic brain equivalent function in 5 to 8 years. So 2030, 2033, possible but aggressive.
And the more likely path.
The realistic scenario factors in the inevitable delays, R&D hurdles, regulatory approvals, safety testing, manufacturing scale-up. That probably puts basic, widely deployable BPAI functionality more in the 10 to 15-year range, say 2035 to 2040.
Still feels fast. The bottlenecks remain huge, though. Energy efficiency, getting rid of the heat, and making it affordable for everyone, not just the super rich.
Absolutely. To get there, development needs to happen on 3 tracks simultaneously. First, hardware creation. Using AI to design better chips, exploring new materials like graphene, finding ways to pack more power with less energy and heat.
Second track, software.
Right. Building on today's foundation models, the LLMs, the vision systems, graph networks, but integrating them with highly specialized modules for specific pattern types. Medical diagnostics, financial modeling, behavioral analysis. It needs to be modular, adaptable.
The third track, just as critical, data. But privacy first.
Has to be. You can't build this on exploiting personal data. That's why architectures like federated learning and homomorphic encryption are crucial from day one. They allow the system to learn from collective patterns without centralizing sensitive individual data. It's the only ethical way to build the massive data sets needed. #tagoutro.
So wrapping this up, this deep dive into brainpower AI, it shows this isn't just sci-fi, it's a defined, if incredibly difficult, technological trajectory towards universal pattern recognition.
Yeah, the potential is just staggering. It could be the ultimate tool for self-awareness, for making smarter collective choices. But that power, the sheer amount of data involved, the potential for manipulation, it means the safeguards aren't optional extras.
They have to be built in from the start.
Absolutely. Privacy controls, autonomy protections, the governance structures, they need just as much focus, maybe more, than the tech itself, before this thing becomes widespread.
Okay, so we'll leave you, our listeners, with a final thought to chew on. It gets back to that tension between prediction and choice. If BPAI becomes so good, it can accurately predict, say, 78% of your future decisions just based on your existing patterns. Does that remaining 22% of genuine unpredictability, of true free will, become incredibly precious, the only space for real surprise? Or does it just become kind of irrelevant, overshadowed by the vast predictability of the rest of your life?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.
Searching for answers to unanswered questions.
This is DigitView.